When I was a teenager, I was always what they used to call very well endowed on top. And I always used to wish I was small like all my friends. I mean, this was in the 60s when Twiggy was the norm. And having a big bust, really, I was always conscious of it all through my life. When I got to my 50s, I was called for this mammogram. And after that, I had a letter asking me to go down to this clinic in Cardiff. Well, I went to the clinic on my own, even when he called me back a second time. I mean, it never entered my head that I would have cancer. That's what happens to other people, not to me. I don't think the word cancer was ever actually mentioned, and I suppose in a funny way it helped me to cope, because I focused on the coming mastectomy as just an operation, something to be got through, and then I'd be okay. My husband and I decided we wouldn't tell the kids about it until the weekend before the op, and I found that very hard. But once it was out, I put on a good act and everybody thought I was coping really well. I suppose I was in denial in a way. I was hiding behind this mask. If I didn't acknowledge it, it wasn't real. But I very nearly lost it when the breast nurse came to visit. She put this prosthesis in my hand and I looked down at this huge piece of plastic sitting in the palm of my hand. And suddenly it brought home to me what I was facing. I remember I had to gulp really hard to stop the panic setting in. I expected to feel a lot of pain after the operation, but I suppose the painkillers did their job well. Once I got home, I wasn't allowed to shower, and I managed to avoid looking at myself whenever the nurses came to change the dressings. But when they came and took the staples out and I could finally have a shower, I couldn't sort of avoid it anymore. We have this very small bathroom. It really is quite tiny. And some years ago, my husband did it all out, and he actually mirrored the whole of one wall to make the room look bigger. So I stepped out of the shower, and I couldn't avoid looking at myself. I don't know exactly what I was expecting to see. I thought it would be something horrific, but really it was quite a neat job. I went back to work about 5 weeks after the op, and I worked all through the chemotherapy. I suppose I was just trying to be normal, whatever normal is, and sort of say, well, I'm not an invalid, I'm not sick, I've had an op and I'm better. I suppose in a way it was this denial thing again. But the chemo was hard, and losing my nearly waist-length hair, that was hard too, especially when it came out in great big chunks. They put me on this tamoxifen for 5 years, and that had some nasty side effects too. It was helping me, I suppose, in trying to combat the cancer coming back. But I did have another scare about 4 years later when I found another lump. But they had a look at it and they said, well, it's okay, it's just a little scarring that's left. That was a relief, I can tell you, because I don't think I could have gone through it again. I really don't. But here I am, 10 years on and in my early 60s. And I'm doing good. Life is great. But I never forget what happened to me. And I'm thankful for the extra time I was given and the chance to see my kids grow up. I mean, the outcome could have been so very different.